Hey everyone, Lewis aka Spider-Man 991 here to talk about some comic books that I got this week. These are 3 comic series that you should be reading right now. This is sort of an alternative for my whole pick of the week thing. In fact, I'm kind of rethinking the format. I want to do a video every week involving the comics I get weekly. So it might be something like this where either I have 1 comic to talk about or 3. So it's just going to be some sort of pop-up video related to comic books that came out this week. So basically I'm going to talk about 3 comics that are being published right now, 3 that came out this week that I think are titles that everyone should be reading right now. First one I'm going to talk about is Mr. Miracle. The 2nd issue came out and this series has been phenomenal. Tom King and Mitch I hope I'm saying this name right, Gerads have created a fascinating story. After first issue pretty much has Mr. Miracle going through his greatest escape trick, which is trying to escape death. And of course, we're left with this, and of course the first issue left us with this sort of ambiguous note about whether or not Scott is actually alive or not. And this story, it kind of continues from where the last issue left off, which had Mr. Miracle and Big Barda returning to New Genesis, where Orion is High Father now, and is currently at war with Apocalypse. And this story has been very phenomenal. It's very self-contained. Also, it's got a lot of lore to the New Gods, but it doesn't discriminate against new readers. Even if the only New God character you know is Darkseid, you can still pick up Mr. Miracle issue 1 and get issue 2 and read them and feel completely enthralled with the story. It's awesome. It's a fantastic series. This is a title that I think you definitely need to keep your eye on because this might be one of the best comics that will be published in the modern era. Another title that's going on right now that I think everyone should be reading is an event series, The Dark Knights Metal! So basically for the 2nd issue, Batman continues his plan to try to figure out to stop Barbados, but unfortunately he inadvertently releases Barbados and the Batman of the Dark Multiverse. And this was a surprise that they arrived so soon. I wasn't really expecting them to show up until like maybe the 3rd issue or 4th, but the 2nd issue, that was pretty surprising. Also, most of the issue is pretty much the Justice League trying to track down and escape Batman. And Batman has like several escape plans planned. He's got several impersonators from Nightwing to Clayface, pretty much throwing the League off his trail. And we also learned that apparently the plan of Batman being the portal to allow Barbatos into their universe pretty much goes way back. All the groundwork for this plan goes back to the very beginning of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run on the New 52 Batman title. Which, by the way, if you haven't read yet, you need to, because it is a phenomenal series. The event is also very much rich in DC history. There are tons of references to Hawkman. The mention of Barbatos even goes back to Grant Morrison's run, and Batman even references his whole trip through time. And also there is a nice little Easter egg that pays homage to the Super Friends Legion of Doom in this issue, which is great. So we're already on issue 2. Dark Knights Metal has been a really fun event so far, and I think that anyone that's a Batman fan should definitely be checking this out. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to talk about was pretty much going to be the comic book pick of the week, but the other 2 titles that I mentioned were very good as well. I didn't want to say anything without them, but the next title that I think you should keep an eye on is Action Comics number 987, which begins the arc, The Oz Effect, where we finally get and solve the mystery of who is Mr. Oz. His identity is revealed on the last page of this issue. It pretty much tells Superman who he is, and it is a bit of a surprise. I'll say this. It's not like, oh my god, this is a huge shock, I didn't see this coming, this is a fucking game changer. No, not like that, but it was a nice little it was a nice little surprise of a character that I didn't really suspect. Originally, I thought Mr. Oz was going to be revealed to be Ozymandias from the Watchmen series because of because of Rebirth tying into Dr. Manhattan altering the DC Universe timeline. So I initially thought it was Ozymandias, but turns out he isn't, and maybe that's a good thing because that would pretty much set this. Even though I feel like this is the story that's going to lead Superman into the Doomsday Clock series that will come out this November, it's good that it wasn't Ozymandias because I feel like that would be like too direct into that arc. Also, lenticular covers are back. I like DC's lenticular covers. They are really nice and fun. But yeah, in this issue, pretty much Mr. Oz sets up his whole master plan, which is he initiates several emergencies across Earth that pretty much show humanity at its worst, and he does it all at the same time so that Superman barely covers all of them. There are a few he actually misses, which is unfortunate. And we learn that the reason Mr. Oz does all this is because he believes that humanity is unworthy of Superman's gifts. Now I know the whole Mr. Oz thing is pretty much a big deal to me because this was set up back during Geoff Johns' brief run on the New 52 Superman. And since then, he's pretty much been a background character. But then when we saw him return in Rebirth, he made a few more frequent appearances. He kidnapped Doomsday. He also kidnapped Tim Drake. We find out he imprisoned Mr. Mxyzptlk in Superman Reborn. So now the hood is pulled down. We know who Oz is. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen in this story arc and what this means for the Man of Steel. And also, does he know about Dr. Manhattan? Because I have a feeling that Oz knows about Dr. Manhattan's actions, and we don't exactly know how he's tied in to specifically why he took Tim Drake. But fortunately, Tim Drake's involvement in this will be seen in the next issue of Detective Comics, which will be out in about 2 weeks from now, which I am super excited for. Action Comics, if you've been keeping an eye on if you loved Rebirth and you're intrigued by the whole Watchmen mystery, then I highly recommend you start reading this arc on Action Comics, because I feel like the Oz effect is going to be the thing that helps guide us into Doomsday Clock. Okay, so those are my 3 comics that you need to read this week. Thank you again for watching. What do you guys think of this whole idea that I'm trying to do for weekly comic books? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, whether you like this format change or not, or should I just go back to doing 1 comic? Please let me know. I need some feedback to help me be better. Again, remember to stay subscribed and notified. Follow me on my social media. The links are in the video description. Thank you again for watching. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.